Mark Fahey is a friend of mine I met a few months ago at a little-known... he flew all the way from Sydney, Australia to Hope. I had several other Australians here, halfway around the world to come to Hope. It's like... I mean, I only have to come from Philadelphia, but this is like, geez. So I ran into Mark a few months ago at a little tiny conference called the SWL Fest for shortwave listeners. It's for people that are really into the radio hobby. It's just north of Philadelphia every March. You can look up swlfest.com, get a plug-in for him. But he gave this, there's only maybe 100-some people at this event. It's not nearly the size of Hope. Mark gave this fascinating talk, actually a couple of talks, about his experiences in North Korea, social engineering and exfiltration of state media. It's amazing stuff. My jaw dropped seeing this, and it's relevant, I think, to this crowd and our community, because it demonstrates, when you see these examples of state media, how a totalitarian regime, if they have complete control over all media, how it affects the populace. And it's kind of scary. Our media is not as free as we would like to think it is, but we're nowhere near what the DPRK is, North Korea. But it's food for thought to see where things can go if they get really crazy and out of control. So without any further delay, I want to introduce Mark Fahey.
Thank you. Thanks, Bernie. So my name's Mark. I'm from Australia, and so thanks for having me here at Hope. Just before I start, I wanted to let you know I probably may channel into a North Korean during part of my talk. My 9-to-5 job, I'm a biomedical engineer, but this is my true passion, what I've been living for the last 4 years. This project's coming to an end, and I've got a new project planned, a totally different part of the world, but a very similar type of country. And so as I channel myself, I might find myself just starting to use terms that are quite common in North Korean propaganda. Because I'm presenting to Americans, and sorry to say, North Koreans don't like you very much. I hope you won't be offended when I say things like American dogs or imperialist aggressors. Are you okay with that? All right. In that case, I'm going to put on my North Korean jacket. And we'll get underway. The last session was really fascinating. So because there's vision impaired people in the audience, I do have a couple of slides which are only text, so I'll also speak the words. Anyone can get a copy of this presentation. It's everything I'm doing is Creative Commons. It's free to share. Some of my friends have pieces in the presentation. I don't want to speak for how they want their information passed on, but anyway, go for it. So the Korean DMZ is what most people see, like what most Westerners see. And this is what you're likely to see if you go there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to UNC Checkpoint 3. As you were told in your slide brief, that once upon arriving here, you'd be surrounded on 3 sides by communist North Korea. At this time, I'm going to show you how. If you look directly to your right about 50 meters in the tree line, you'll see a black and yellow panel marker. As the tree line goes down, forming a 90-degree angle, the MDL goes out, making an abrupt left, continuing to the Sachon River, continuing west into the Han Estuary. You cannot see what I'm mainly talking about, but you might be able to just a little bit. As you look out to the far distance, you'll see a hill. You'll see what looks to be a J-shaped or a hook-shaped dirt road. That is the northern portion of the DMZ, and it's approximately 2,000 meters from where we stand now. If you look amongst all the trees, you'll see another TAN building. KPA guard post number 5 is currently monitoring us at this time. So once again, please don't point, wave, or make any gestures towards North Korea in any way. As you look out into the field, once again, you might be able to see it, you might not, but you'll see a blue rooftop building. That is the former Czech and Polish NSC camp, however, is no longer used. North Korea claims it is their QRF, or Quick Reaction Force. However, we seldom see any vehicles or personnel there, so we give it the nickname North Korea's Slow Reaction Force. Now, if you look to your very far left, you'll see the large flagpole that stands in the village, Gyeongdong, a propaganda village. As you can see, the flag is not flying well today. It takes a large gust of wind to get this flag flying, and it has a dry weight of 600 pounds. It must be lowered during inclement weather for it to tear under its own weight. You can't really make out the village, but if you remember from your slide brief, you had seen that it looks like a really nice place to live. Well, it is more or less a multi-million-dollar Hollywood prop set. All these buildings pretty much are mostly uninhabited. The way we know this is from when North Korea does have electricity, they'll have bright lights at the very top floor and they'll just dim down as it gets towards the bottom floor. That's how we also know there's no floors inside these buildings. There's also some windows and doors even painted on.
So basically, most people only get to see North Korea by saying, well, you can't really see it, but behind these trees, and you kind of have to use your imagination. I decided I wanted to get behind the trees and see what's actually there. My project is called Behind the Curtain. It's a multimedia project, essentially an e-book, which runs on iPads, Macs, and so on, and will be on other devices as well. But just a bit about North Korea. Also, you might hear me use the term DPRK, that stands for Democratic Republic of North Korea. As probably most of you know, if the word democratic appears in the name of your nation, you can pretty well count that it's not democratic. There's no freedom, there's no outside information. The people are isolated and ignorant. There's torture, public executions, and concentration camps. And the population is 24.5 million people, which is just slightly more than the country I'm from, Australia, and essentially close to 100% of those people are brainwashed. It's certainly the strangest country, strangest nation on the planet. But they're real people as well. People ride the subway to work, they hate their boss, they fight with their wives. So, you know, we can quite often think of North Koreans as drones and robots, but they are real people as well. My project, as I said, Behind the Curtain, I've been interested in North Korea for quite some time. It wasn't just North Korea. I was interested in growing up as a teenager during the Cold War, very interested in the Soviet Union, Albania, East Germany, and so on. All of those countries have changed. Even China has changed. If you ever go there, it's communist by name and political system, but certainly doesn't look like a communist country any longer. North Korea is the last of all of these countries. And in fact, I have an interest like Bernie in radio, and the first time I wrote to the North Koreans was when I was 13 years old. And this is the postcard they sent me back after I heard their radio station. In my home in Sydney, Australia, I actually have a large satellite dish and other equipment so I can watch North Korean television and receive Korean radio. Television runs for about 5 hours a day, radio runs for 18 hours a day. So I actually consume a lot of that information for this project. But consuming it from outside the country, all the way in Australia, I was kind of felt that I was really missing out on things, so I decided to do some work on the ground. Going in, originally, when I went into North Korea, you weren't able to take things like your phones were taken off you, confiscated. They were sealed in a great big plastic bag with heaps of tape around it and handed back to you as you left the country at the Chinese border. So for the types of information I wanted to collect local information, particularly the mass media, electronic mass media. It meant that I had to disguise equipment to take in. So here you can see various radios, recorders and so on disguised as MP3 players, a USB memory stick, and inside this camera body is a radio as well. And one thing you could get in was a laptop. In fact, it's the very same laptop I'm presenting from today, a MacBook. And the reason you can get that into North Korea is that there's no internet, there's no Wi-Fi, so there's no ability to connect to the outside world. So they were feeling it was quite safe to allow me to have a laptop with me. If you look carefully there, you'll see that out of the USB stick is a wire coat hanger, and that's been specially crafted as a radio antenna. I collected data, radio transmissions, television transmissions, and then bring them back home to Australia to edit. Each trip, I've been to North Korea a total of 4 times. Each trip was about 6 months into planning. I had to work out exactly what content I wanted, what I wanted to receive, and then usually many months of editing information when I get back, trawling through it. Really in country, I'm just sucking things up, and then when I get home, I've been going through it. The project itself, as I said, runs on an iPad, but there'll be no doubt an Android version as well, runs on a Mac. It's fully interactive. You touch the graphics and they all move. Lots of video, lots of audio, and so on. So what we're talking about today, a really brief introduction to North Korea, propaganda primer, social engineering, you know, how to conduct yourself in the country, smuggling gear in and media out, and the highlight is the death to the USA. And one thing I do have to be mindful of is speaking faster, because normally I present this over about 3 hours. So I've cut it down a tiny bit, but I better get going. North Korea 101, what's the country about? So just a geography introduction. I'm from here. North Korea's up here. So to the west of Japan, you can see it there marked in red. This is actually a North Korean map, and then you can see both South Korea and North Korea are marked as one country. They don't recognize South Korea as a separate country. In fact, when you see the word South Korea written in North Korean documents, the S is always spelt with a lowercase s. This is the Korean Peninsula. So it sits in the Sea of Japan or the Sea of Korea, whichever you wish to call it. The bottom half is the south, the northern part is the north. Here's the 2 capital cities. The red one is Pyongyang, capital city of North Korea. The blue one, Seoul, capital city of South Korea. In fact, they're incredibly close together. The North Korean border is only about 36 kilometers north of Seoul. The country has land borders with Russia, and actually here's one of my minders, which I'll be introducing you to in a minute. He's actually pointing to where we're standing, which is right on a border town, and the yellow country there is Russia. On the other side over here, this is China. And a common, most North Korean propaganda, the imagery revolves around the flag. You'll see this everywhere, just like the Stars and Stripes are here in the United States. I usually don't even call it a country, it's a racket. The regime is run by the Kim family for their own amusement, and they're incredibly corrupt, and the population are just their servants. Kim Il-sung founded the country. Kim Jong-il, you might remember, he died December 2011, and the current one, Little Kim, or Fatty Kim, is Kim Jong-un. This is Kim Il-sung. Everywhere you go in the country, you're going to see statues of Kim Il-sung. These statues are kind of the equivalent of a church in their country. When you're married, if you felt you wanted to reflect or anything like that, you'd usually go to one of these statues in your town. Kim Il-sung liberated the country because the country doesn't really, in their version of history, doesn't know about the Second World War. They don't know about the efforts of the Americans